Hello, so for this assignment, I'm doing the drug abuse in America, a little slideshow presentation about the drug abuse that I've found here, especially in the United States, some statistics, as well as what local police departments, I think I chose the Salt Lake City Police Department, and what they do to try to combat these issues. So first of all, I just looked up a couple of the popular drugs lately. Alcohol and tobacco are one of the top that are misused, especially because a lot of the underage minors get a hold of them, and you need to be 21 to use these. But surprisingly, prescription drugs are still right up at the top. They're just like painkillers like Vicodin and Oxycodone. They're still at large, and it's a huge epidemic. Something I also found surprising was that cocaine was a close second. Um, and that was surprising because of the fact that cocaine is a little bit more of a expensive drug. Some other drugs, especially here in Utah, were marijuana, due to the fact that it hasn't been legalized here. Since it is legalized in California and Colorado, and I think a couple other states, it's starting to become a little bit less um, regulated. But because of like a ride along that I recently did with a police officer, we had to issue a couple of citations for underage kids that were using marijuana, as well as a couple adults. So it's still a big problem here. Even though it might be legal in other states, we have to make sure that we follow the rules here in Utah. So, like I expressed, I did a little bit of research into the Salt Lake City School, the Salt Lake City Police Department, and then found a couple of ways how they combat drugs and then some difficulties they face. So, since Salt Lake City is the largest city in Utah, it has pretty bad drug problem. There's a small suburb called Rio Grande that's near downtown. That's where a lot of homeless people live. And then some statistics found that that was a lot where the drug problems would originate. So something they did to kind of combat that was that they would go to the parks where these people would be at, where these homeless people would be at, and they do random drug checks and take drugs off the streets, just confiscating the drugs. I don't know if they issued any arrests, but they would just clean up and get away to confiscate all those drugs, making sure that they were a little bit less accessible because the homeless people aren't going to have a ton of access to these drugs because they don't have the money to pay for it. And that's something that has been making a pretty big impact. Some future resolutions. So I read through a scholarly article that the DEA published about some the drug abuse that especially the United States has, and some techniques they're going to apply. And one of them is a prescription drug monitoring system. I chose to kind of base my article on that because of the fact that prescription drugs was number three, right above cocaine. And because of the fact that alcohol and tobacco are a little bit harder to regulate, this prescription drug monitoring system will make sure that it'll keep a check on those people that continue to um, get prescriptions for these drugs that are painkillers, and then either help them to get into a rehab center or help them so they can identify the fact that they're drug addicts, and that they can fix the issue themselves. And then that's my presentation. Here's the references I used, and I hope you enjoyed it.